Hey everyone, it's the new month of November. 2 months to go in the year. We want to give you some information on the stats, so let's just get straight into it and find out how the market performed in October. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and as you know, we always go through the stats, and of course the first number everybody wants to know is what was the average selling price here in Halifax for the month of October. Well, that was $617,500. So it's staying pretty high because we've been saying all along that, you know, we've had mortgage rate decreases. I think there's been 4 over this year so far, and it's not really changing the selling prices here in Halifax. So the big secret that everybody is not going to tell you and that we're going to let you into is that the affordability of Halifax housing is definitely an issue. So that's the one big secret that nobody's really talking about. But at $617,500 for the month of October, that's a pretty chunky average selling price. Now, the list price compared to that was $621,000. So we're looking at 99.4% sale to list price, roughly equivalent to a $4,000 reduction in list price to sale price. So it's staying pretty positive. We're not really seeing too much of a change in that actual average selling price because last month was $619. $2,000 difference, but last year that was down at $565. So we're up 9% on last year's average selling price, October, same month. So you can see there's been quite a lot of increase. We've not only had the increases in 21 and 22, but now we're jumping pretty, like 9% on average is quite a lot higher than October last year. So affordability is rapidly becoming one of those key buzzwords that nobody's talking about, but it's getting there. Like, you know, we've been the last 2-3 months, we've been over $600,000. So that means your affordability and obviously the mortgage qualification is definitely getting higher. To actually try and find something that, you know, is at a good price for the first time home buyers, it's getting a little tight out there. Now, when we look at days on market, we are at 28 days on market. Last month, 27, last year, 28. Not a huge amount of change. Roughly 1 month it's going to take you from putting your house up for sale to actually get the offer accepted and go to that place where you are sold. Not closed, but sold. Closed is when you actually have to give the keys away. So 28 days on that right now. So very similar to last year as well as the year before. This month we sold just under, like a little smidge under 400 at 394 houses. Last month that was 358, so we're up 10% on that number. Last year it was only 318 sales. So October last year was definitely compressed in terms of the volume and the activity. And this year helped a little bit probably by some mortgage rate decreases. We can see the increase in the volume and the sales that we're actually getting this year. So we were up 24% on last year. When you look at the number of houses active for sale, though, we're at 838 homes. Last month, that was 904. Last year, that was 799. So we're better than, as in better because there's less homes for sales because we've sold more and listed less, if that makes sense. That's what we've actually got as a number. So we're actually better than last month, although it feels the wrong way because more houses for sale is better. But for who? Buyers, that's for who, not necessarily sellers. But when you look at then equating it into the number of months inventory, we're at 2.1. Last month and last year, it was 2.5. So we're still really strongly at 2.5 months, 2.1 months this month. We've not got a lot of inventory for sale. So it still gives quite a bit of conflicting advice or conflicting information when you look at how much homes inventory for sale is 2.1. That is definitely a seller's market by definition. Remember, less than 5 months is seller, more than 7 is a buyer's. In the middle, 5 to 7 is a balanced market. So we're still not there at a balanced market. Not even like close. We've got to double the amount of inventory while selling the same amount of houses to make it a balanced market, which is kind of like, okay, we're selling more houses. The inventory has come down and it's still seller's market. You'll see in the graph that we are basically sticking well below that number 5 months. But then you look at the average price, and certainly that's going up. And then I also looked at the volume of sales that we've done from 2021 into 2022, 2023, and year to date 24. Now, 2021, we sold just over 6,000 homes. Bumper year for Halifax real estate for sure. And that's when we were all doing over asking prices and all that craziness. Dropped off then in 2022 to only 4,600 homes, down 25% in terms of the volume of the houses we sold. Last year, we dropped again to 3,900, down 15%. Now this year, we're at 3,800 now, today in October. So if you say, okay, let's carry on roughly the same for like November and December as we did last year, we'd be on pace for around about a 6 to 8% increase over last year. So that's a good thing. And I think that's definitely down to mortgage rates have come down a little bit, but it didn't really show in the prices. So therefore people were saying, well, okay, the mortgage rates come down so I can afford a bigger mortgage payment. Well, I can afford the same mortgage payment for a higher priced house because the mortgage amount that you're paying didn't change, but the amount of mortgage you could get got more. Therefore, you can buy a better house. And that's really what the key story of what's been going on this month and probably last month and a couple of months before as well. So those are what's going on in the market. We always like to look as well at the sales to new listing ratio because that gives us an idea for how many houses we're selling versus the number of new houses that are coming on the market. Now, this month we sold obviously 394. We listed 449, which was down on last month's number. Last month we listed 525. So we're at 88% sales to new listings ratio in terms of what's coming on the market. And that's a healthy number because once you get above 100%, you're obviously selling a lot more than you can put on the market. That leads to scarcity, it leads to a huge amount of demand with not a lot of supply. We go back into those crazy kind of over asking prices when people have to get houses. So long as we're staying under 100 or lower is actually a decent number. It's where we want to be. So it's staying pretty good. Now, last month, that was at 68%. Last year, that was at 71%. So fairly similar, we're a little bit higher this time. And that's purely down to the fact that we just did not put up for sale, didn't list a lot of new houses compared to last month. 449 this month, 525 last month. But then that also stacks up with the decrease in the amount of inventory to 2.1 months. So kind of all makes sense when you look at it. One of the other things that we like to do as well is people do like to talk about, well, okay, average selling price is one thing. Let's look at the median. Now, the median is obviously trying to remove some of the outliers at the higher price points and the lower price points to come up with a number in the middle. And it was interesting when you looked at that number because list price of 549.9 was the median. Sale price was 552.5. So that is the opposite of what we did when we did average pricing. Average, we were actually selling for underneath the average list price. On the median, we're selling for over the median list price by around about $2,600. So it's interesting when you look at the different ways of calculating things because, yeah, that would suggest if the median sale price is 552, that makes things a little bit more affordable. But I firmly stand by the average because we're looking across the whole of Nova Scotia here. Sorry, we're looking at the whole of HRM in terms of a market. And you're going to get the people that can afford the over $1 million houses, and you're going to get the people that can only afford the $300,000 houses. We're looking at the whole average. And it makes life a lot simpler to compare as well. When you do average to average, it's like, yeah, if somebody sold a $3 million house, that goes in the average and it brings the average up. So yes, there's the median. I don't really put too much faith in that one. I stick firmly by the average just because I want to know the average of everything, the whole of HRM, all the houses that are sold, what was the average price? And we're at $617,000. Also, what I like to do is look at the average or look at the actual list price of houses before they became the list price when they got an accepted offer that then resulted in the sold price. So when we look at those, and we'll certainly go into the top 3 markets because I did it for those, there were quite a few houses contributing to an overall average of a $15,000 price drop on the houses that sold. that got them to a list price when somebody would write that offer and the offer stuck and the house actually went sold. So on average, it's a 15,000 reduction. But there was quite a lot of houses that over $100,000. There was 12 houses that were over $100,000 price drop to get to that list price, to get to the accepted offer. So sellers, this reinforces the same thing we've been saying, which is make sure that your pricing is accurate enough when you first list so that you don't have to go through the price reductions. Now, yes, it's always a game a little bit of, well, what's the right listing price to get the offer? Well, until you put it on the market, you don't always know. But it does stack up with the fact that, we're seeing offers coming in under asking price, as well as you've got to make sure the asking price is attractive enough in the first 2 weeks to get the offer. And that's certainly what we've seen this month. Now let's go into the top markets. So number one market this month is Timberley, Prospect and St. Margaret's Bay. Again, we don't tend to change too much about how many houses they sold, but they were number one because they had 46 houses sold in the month of October. Their average list price was $598, sale price of $593, so roughly $5,000 price reduction, 1%. Number of days on market there was 32, so just a little bit over the month. Active homes 125 and 4.7, yeah, no chance. 2.7 months of inventory in that market. Going up to the number two market, and I say up because I live in Fall River and it's kind of up from me, which is East Hants and Colchester West, Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance area. Their average list price was $494,790 with a sale price of $484. So that puts them at roughly $6,500, 1.3% lower than the actual list price. Now, they had 41 sales, so that got them into second position. With 44 days on market, 78 homes active, only gives them 1.9 months of inventory up there. Finishing off in our third market, and this is a new one. This has never been in the top three markets, I think as long as I've actually been doing it, because it tends to always be the same. But this is Woodlawn, Portland Estates area, coming in at third by virtue of the fact that they had 31 houses sold there. Now, the average list price was $539. Average sale price was $539. So basically sale to list price, the same number. 23 days on market there. So moving a little bit quicker with 20 homes active, only 0.6 months of inventory. So there's quite a lot of activity in that area. And again, it's a Dartmouth area as well. And Dartmouth, if we grouped all of the MLS areas for Dartmouth together, they would absolutely show up as number one. But there's so many different areas there and subdivisions that, yeah, this is the first time really with that Woodlawn, Portland Estates has actually had enough volume to creep up into the top three and, yeah, not Lower Sackville off the market, which tends to show that Lower Sackville probably just doesn't have a lot of inventory because that's usually in the top three. Bedford didn't show up either. Now, the other thing I wanted to do is when I look at those top three markets and we start saying, okay, well, what kind of a price reduction did those markets have to do to actually get offers accepted? We'll go into them by the same kind of numbers that we started with. So the first market, which was obviously Timberley, Prospect, St. Margaret's Bay, they had to do a $4,500 price reduction to get to a list price that encouraged someone to write an offer to then get the property sold. Number two, obviously back up to East Hants, Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance. That was $14,000 price drop. And in Woodlawn, Portland Estates, they had to do a $15,000 price drop. Now, the average we said was 15. So when you look at those, apart from Timberley, Prospect, obviously not being so much of a price drop, $4,500 there, that's really probably a bit of a new construction thing going on there because there is a couple of new subdivisions in that area that are probably attracting sale to list price the same. But overall, we are hitting $15,000 as an average price drop across all of them, all the markets, all the houses to actually get to that point. So that's when you really start looking at some of the numbers and start figuring out, well, okay, we are definitely in a seller's market, 2.1 months, but sale to list price is definitely lower, which suggests a little bit of a buyer's market. So it's a little bit confusing, but those are the stats that we've got for this month. If you have any questions, reach out and we will give you the best advice you can get given on your area, your market, and your particular situation.